All right, time for Speaking with the Enemy, and the enemy tonight, Morley Scott. He's the radio voice with the Edmonton Elks. And Morley, I want to get right into it because I'm looking at the Elks depth chart, and I have a feeling that Thomas Costigan on that defensive line is going to be a huge loss for the Elks tonight.
Yeah, for sure. First off, enemy. Come on, guys. Can't we all be friends? We don't have to be enemies, do we?
No, of course.
Costigan won't play tonight. He is injured. Jake Seresna not playing as well tonight. He is back home in the U.S. with his family after the passing of his mother. So the Elks are missing their top two leaders in sacks. So that's a tough loss for them for sure. But they do add Antonio Simmons to the defensive line tonight, who was, of course, acquired in the trade with Montreal for Trevor Harris. So they will have that. But that's one of the issues. They got to get some more pressure on the quarterback. They've got some guys who were expected, I think, to be big sack leaders, particular guys like Kwaku Boateng and Mike Moore. They each got 2 sacks on opening night and haven't had one since. And they just got to get to the quarterback more for sure.
What has been the Elks' strength of the defense so far? You say the D-line is looking for improvement, but how are these defensive backs going to match up against the Tiger Cat receivers tonight?
Well, it's going to be a challenge, I'm sure. Those receivers, they're playmakers. I talked to Aaron Grimes earlier this week about it, and he just said they got a bunch of playmakers that we have to be very careful about, and especially going to be challenged without Jonathan Mincy in the lineup, who got hurt at practice this week and is probably going to be done for the rest of the season as they moved him on to the six game injured list. So Nafis Lyons will come in and play at that cornerback spot on the field side, and it's his first CFL game tonight. So he'll definitely be challenged if he's got to look at guys like Auckland and especially Brandon Banks, working at him. So it's going to be a challenge for sure. Although they have had some success, those defensive backs have been pretty good for the most part. I know Rose and Grimes have both had real good seasons, and Washington as well, who has 3 interceptions. So they've been good, but the biggest problem I think with the Elks defense this season is they've just been on the field too much.
Well, that it starts with keeping the offense on the field, and the man kind of tasked with that is Taylor Cornelius, making the start again and is kind of given the vote of confidence from his head coach. What's the scouting report on Cornelius so far this season in his starts?
Big arm. Big arm is the first thing you notice about him. He can really throw the ball. The receivers have talked a lot about the fact that the ball comes at them really fast and really hard, and we've seen a couple of guys have the ball, hit them right in the hands and drop, and you can tell there's just a lot on it. So they've had to make some adjustments there. But he's got a big arm. He doesn't mind. He's got the courage to throw into some tight windows. That's cost him a little bit because he's thrown for 6 interceptions in the games he's played this year. But for the most part, he's improved every game that he's played this year, and I think that's the bright spot about it. He came in first for the injury to Trevor Harris, and then when they sat Harris down against Winnipeg 2 weeks ago before the bye week, he played for him, and now he's the guy moving forward until Nick Arbuckle gets an opportunity. So he's improved as he's moved along, and I think that's the thing that has the people in Elks management happy, that they see him getting better as he moves along. Big guy, too. He's like 6'5", 230 pounds, and he doesn't mind pulling the ball down and running with it a little bit as well.
Yeah, you got to love guys willing to take chances, and that's the only way to get experience and get better. Louie mentioned the vote of confidence, and how does bringing Arbuckle into the locker room, does that change any of the dynamic in the quarterback room?
Well, it's kind of funny because at the start of the week, the line of questioning to both Taylor Cornelius and head coach Jamie Elizondo was the fact that Trevor Harris is gone. There's nobody in the back seat now for Taylor Cornelius, and everyone goes, yeah, he knows it's his team, he can move forward. And then 3 days later, Nick Arbuckle was acquired, and it goes back the other way. Well, now there's somebody in the back seat. So Jamie Elizondo says he hasn't noticed a difference. He said that he's been the same guy when Trevor Harris was here, after he left, and then after the Arbuckle trade. He said he's the same guy, very focused and very determined to be successful. And he says that what's going on around him hasn't really affected him.
Obviously, Darrell Walker's been there, was there back in 2015, spent that year with Toronto, but here he's back in Edmonton. Is he kind of the de facto leader on this team? Because, I'm going to be honest, I'm looking kind of through the depth chart and for names that would jump out at me as kind of experienced CFL guys that some of the younger players can look to. Is it safe to say Darrell Walker, Greg Ellingson, two of the de facto leaders on this Elks group?
They should be, yeah. They're the veteran guys. They're the guys who should have the best numbers. They do, but that being taken into account, their numbers are still kind of disappointing. I mean, Ellington 586 yards. Walker's got 457 yards. Walker doesn't have a touchdown yet this year. Ellington's only got one, so that's been a little bit of a disappointment. The guy by the name of Shai Ross leads them in touchdowns with 4. Those numbers should belong to one of those two guys, and it's really mind-boggling when you think that Darrell Walker hasn't gotten to the end zone yet this year. He's had 4 games in a row where he's been under 40 yards in receiving, so that's just not good enough.
What do you think the Elks need to do to attack the Ticats defense and get some of those big names going, including Wilder Jr.? What do you think the strategy is going to be against the Tiger Cat defense after watching what they have done lately and really all season long?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how they do approach it. I think they'll try some quick passes. They'll go deep. Cornelius likes to go deep, and Jamie Elizondo likes to go deep with him. So I think they'll try that and try and get the run game going. If you can get James Wilder Jr. going, and it's no secret in football, right? If you get the run game going, it opens up so much more for you in the passing game. So that's going to be the goal. Wilder's had a couple of subpar games. The Elks played Winnipeg their last 2 games. He just had 43 and 44 yards in those 2 games, the lowest totals of the season. So he's another guy who's got to get going, albeit that was against a pretty good defense. But this defense is pretty good too. They've got a really good front 4 and a really strong front 7 to face in this one, just like the Blue Bombers do. So Wilder's going to see a lot of the same that he saw against Winnipeg, I think.
Can we get an updated weather update out there?
It's supposed to be around 0, I believe, at kickoff. So and dipping down a little bit more throughout the night. I'm just trying to check my weather app right now. It is 2 degrees right now, and it is around kickoff time. It's going to be 1 degree. It'll go down to by the time the game's over, it'll be -1. So. That's not too bad.
Not too bad. Spoken like a true Edmontonian in October.
We call it good football weather here. I don't know what you guys call it.
Morley, before we let you go, I know you got your own call ready to get to. So real quick, the Edmonton Elks will win this game if blank. Finish that sentence for me.
James Wilder Jr. runs for 100 yards.
Oh, very specific.
Very specific. We'll keep our eye on it. Morley, thanks for doing this.
All right, you bet, guys.